Amphlett Reviews, and today we're doing a Japanese review and a follow-up to a previous video I did quite some time ago with Battle Royale, this time being the sequel Battle Royale 2 Requiem, or the alternative title for the director's cut, Revenge. Now, as you can tell from the title of this video and from the length, I'm not going to talk about this film about too much. I think universally, this film is known to be quite disappointing, and I just want to talk about my thoughts and opinions very briefly on the film itself. Now, I did watch this part of the fantastic edition that was released from Arrow a little while ago, which features the 4K version of the first entry. Oh, absolutely fantastic. Features the theatrical and the obviously director's cut of the second film also, which I do have here, which I've recently watched. Features trump cards, soundtrack, just a really nice jam-packed edition. Nice little booklet as well. Really happy to have this edition. Shame there is no more kind of greater entries into the franchise. Maybe this was kind of a short-lived, maybe this was to be a lightning in the bottle, one-off idea kind of thing, or maybe it's the fact that the director Kenji Fujiwara died during the process of making the second entry, and obviously his son had to take over the reins in terms of directing and writing the film. And unfortunately for the son, he hasn't gone on to do anything that great either in terms of his kind of film career. Very kind of low budget, straight to kind of, you know, home market movies. His directing talents and his writing talents definitely haven't shined through on this film, unfortunately, and it's a damn shame to see what could have been with the original director and original vision behind the film, because I think there are so many lacking elements for the second entry of Battle Royale 2, Requiem or Revenge. Now, I did watch the director's cut version, which you have on here. There you go. It's the first time seeing the director's cut. I believe I watched the second film once a long time ago. I don't remember having a recollection of it, and obviously after watching it again, I don't have much recollection of what the heck this film is really trying to say, or what it's really trying to offer, really. Battle Royale 2 is a complete misfire of a film, very disappointing. It doesn't have a real clear message, and whatever message does have muddled within this really odd, misguided idea, and it doesn't quite work for what the film is trying to go for. And the fact that the motivations and the characters that were all presented in the film are so paper thin, their motivations are so kind of dull and so uninteresting, and there's some really loose connections with the first movie, with some characters being related. Waste of a concept. It's completely illogical in terms of how these characters are kind of thrown into the scenario. It doesn't make any sense. The fact that the Battle Royale program turned into a military kind of coup, invasion kind of task force to take down the rebel force, using students from kind of poor ethnic family backgrounds and just using them because they're the lowest, poorest class, and they are worthless in the sense of the system, because the Japanese kind of country itself is so poor. It's going to dispose of students so easily, so quickly, without no military experience, without no training, putting them into a crazy, outrageous scenario, and on top of that, having plot points and scenarios where they're guaranteed to be killed with the devices being linked to the people. It makes no goddamn sense. The fact that you even send in the tactical task force later in the film is insulting, and then the fact that you do a missile strike later on in the film is also insulting to compare to what they could have just done this in the first place. That would have saved so much time in the film. That would have just guaranteed deaths in terms of the resistance leader. If they know everyone's on this island, why didn't they just do a missile strike in the first place? Why didn't they send them to the special ops military force straight away? Why are they wasting resources? Why are they kind of doing this kind of outlandish scheme? It doesn't make any goddamn sense. The message behind war, the properties of war, and this idea of using Afghanistan as a kind of a plot point, using actual real life footage, using this idea of finding happiness within the kind of long-term war effects, and how terrorism can spark kind of hope and kind of joy within people, and finding the hope within kind of society and our kind of connections between adults and teenagers. It's just so completely ridiculous and so out there, bonkers in terms of its. I will say the film is not completely terrible. There are some good moments throughout the film. There's one or two acting moments I did enjoy, and there's some nice action set moments. However, the action does get a bit repetitive. It does get tiresome. It's the same type of action over and over again. Being the fact the film is so wildly edited and just so completely shaky cam, and it's just kind of, there's no flair, there's no interesting kind of storytelling within its action. It's just action set piece, people getting shot, people getting killed, over melodrama kind of moments within some of the character kind of reveals, and some loose connections within the kind of to link to the first entry. It just doesn't add anything to the film. It doesn't expand that world any further. Put simply, the film doesn't work. I would say watch it if you have the box set edition like myself. If you're curious, go and check it out. It is 2.5 hours. That is a lot of asking kind of thing for a viewer to kind of check out. Unfortunately, Battle Royale was never meant to be a kind of franchise or have a sequel. I love to assume what could have been, maybe an alternative world, maybe an alternative parallel universe, but unfortunately, I would say stick with the first entry, stick with that really cool, excellent memory of the first movie in your mind, the heart and soul, the energy of Battle Royale, the fun nature of it, and the bleakness. It was all well balanced and all well controlled within that first movie. That's been my thoughts and opinions, guys. Please comment down below. What are your thoughts and opinions on Battle Royale 2, the theatrical or director's cut? Which one do you prefer? In the meantime, guys, Amphlett Reviews, signing out.